Hi everybody, my name is Jens Larsen. You're probably already practicing and using arpeggios in your solos, and you also realize that it would be really useful and practical to start working with the inversions of those arpeggios, since you're anyway practicing them. But it can be kind of difficult to make some good lines with the inversions. But there is one way that you can start doing this, where you also add a really nice large interval skip that's going to make your lines sound a little bit more surprising. And that's what I want to show you in this video. If you want to learn more about jazz guitar, about improvising over chord changes, checking out some interesting scales or arpeggios, then subscribe to my channel. If you want to make sure not to miss anything, then click the little bell notification icon next to the subscribe button. The examples that I'm using in this video are all on a 2-5-1 in the key of D major. So that's E minor 7, A7 altered, and D major 7. So the basic idea that I'm working with here is that we have the inversion of the arpeggio, and that's in this case on the E minor 7, so that's this G major 7 in first inversion, first the top note, and then skip down and play the remaining 3 notes ascending, and then continue from there. And I'm using the exact same idea on the A7, but then with a B flat minor major arpeggio. So first the highest note, and again it's a first inversion, so that's a B flat, the root, skipping down to the third, and then up the arpeggio. And then continuing like that. This example is using the third inversion of the G major 7 arpeggio over the 2 chord, so the E minor 7. And I'm starting with the 5th, so that's in this case a D. And then I'm skipping down to the F sharp, up the arpeggio. And this is really sort of nicely connecting. So now we already have like a large interval skip from D down to F sharp. Every time I do this, I actually get a 6 interval. And that's a very nice sort of pretty consonant interval to skip around with if you want to use larger intervals, because it's the inversion of the diatonic third. So we have the 6 down here, up the arpeggio. Then I'm encircling the chordal arpeggio that I'm starting on the A, adding an E, and then on the A7 altered, it's 2 triads. First is a B flat minor triad, and then a G diminished triad, and then just a scale run from A, G down to F sharp on the D major 7. In this 2-5-1 line, I'm starting with a scale run just from the root, so really from the E, and then up to the 5th of the chord, so that's a B. And then from the B, I'm using the second inversion of a G major 7 arpeggio. So I'm skipping from the B down to the D, and then up the arpeggio, so that's F sharp and G. And then on the A7, first is an A augmented triad, or C sharp augmented triad, and then an E flat major triad, and then resolving that to the 5th of D major 7. So until now we've seen that this works really well for a first, second, or third inversion of a 7th chord arpeggio, but you can actually also use it for a diatonic 7th chord in root position, and that will sound something like this. In this line, I start with the G major 7 arpeggio, which is of course just a straight old G major 7 arpeggio, except for the fact that I'm starting with the highest note in the arpeggio. So I'm playing first the F sharp, skipping down to the G, and then up the arpeggio. And then I'm kind of using the idea that the F sharp and the D are encircling the notes of a chordal harmony arpeggio from E. So that's this that continues with a down to a B. So, and then from here I move into the A7 altered, and the A7 altered line is really just a B flat sus triad in 2 inversions. So first from the B flat, so, and then from the 5th, and then resolving to the F sharp on the D major 7. So here you can also see that very often when I'm using the pivot technique like this, I'm kind of thinking of the arpeggio as just being embellishments up to a highest note here. So really what's happening is melodically I have the top note that I begin with, and then the note under it, and then these two are a lot less important. And that's why it feels okay to do this as a sort of encircling of this E in this line. This way of using arpeggio inversions to create some larger interval skips, and also just really to have a practical way to use the inversions at all, is something that I use quite a lot. And I find that that's a very nice way to just work with these things, and also to get some interesting, more surprising effects into your lines, so that you're not just chaining together scales and arpeggios and everything seems to be moving in one direction all the time. Because I think it's important that we also make lines that have a few sort of surprises for the listener to keep their attention while we're playing. This is something that Parker also does really a lot, so it's not specifically a new kind of technique in any way. So you can also find him doing this really a lot with especially the diminished arpeggios that he uses. So that's also worthwhile checking out if you want to see some more examples of this. Do you use this technique? Or are there similar techniques that you make use of to make lines with arpeggio inversions? Then leave a comment on this video. I'm sure everybody's interested in that. I know I am. And we're of course always looking for nice tricks and nice ideas for making some new licks and getting some new sounds into our playing. Do you want to learn more about jazz guitar and this is the first time you see one of my videos? Then subscribe to my channel. The videos that I publish here every week are on finding some solid methods and good strategies to explore all the great things on jazz guitar about improvising and soloing and comping. If you like this video and you want to help me keep making videos, then check out my Patreon page. I'm very grateful for the support that I'm getting from my patrons, and it's because of that I can keep on going and publish videos every week. If you support me on Patreon, I can also give you something in return for that support. So check out my Patreon page, and that's about it for this week. Thank you for watching, and on to next week.